Paul has asked, can you send me the link? It's on the agenda, isn't it?
Well, we are live.
Okay. Colin, can you send Paula the link?
Okay.
Okay. Well, let's get going anyway. Thank you all for attending. This is the Leisure and Community Committee meeting for Tuesday the 10th of November. Welcome to everyone. Usual caveats apply. It's live streaming to YouTube. It's been recorded. So, item 2, first of all, apologies for absence, please.
We have apologies from Councillor Fernan, Councillor Jones, Councillor Roach and Councillor Smith.
That's obviously Liz Smith. Okay, declarations of interest and request for dispensation. Anybody?
Yes, Chair.
Sorry, Joe, go ahead. I can't see you, obviously.
So, as Chairman of the Haverhill Show, I've got a non-pecuniary interest in item 10, I think it is.
Yeah, it is. Okay. Are you keeping your video off, Joe? Councillor Mason, are you keeping your video off?
Yes, sorry about that. I didn't mean to take it off, John.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
Right. Okay. Right, minutes of the last meeting held on the 15th of September. I lost it. Obviously remotely. I guess you've all read them, hopefully. Can I, Joe, because I can't hear you, you might have to just shout out if you want to say anything. I can't see you, rather. I can hear you. Can I have a proposal for the minutes, please? Paula, Councillor Fox. Any seconders for the minutes, please? Councillor Dave Smith. Oh, sorry, Joe, I just seen. I just got you now. All those in favour, please show. I thank you. That's carried. Item number 5, to note the progress of actions arising from those minutes.
Do you want them on screen?
Can do, yeah, if you want to. Is that still the case, Colin? And no further, nothing from...
We have to tell us lots of communications about benches. It wasn't about that. So no.
Brand, have you heard anything? Tony?
No.
No, you haven't. Okay. Right, sorry. Just going down. Are you going to report on Christmas lights at all in your report, Nick?
That action point is for next year.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't know what else was because this.
Councillor Marks has just joined the meeting.
I presume there's nothing from either of those 2 items on page 51.
I did invite councillors to put themselves forward for volunteering for the Halloween trail, and 4 councillors kindly did.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
My apologies. I came in on the YouTube link instead of on the other one. I couldn't understand how I couldn't turn my camera on.
Okay, right, what do we? Are you reporting any further in your report on this, Nick? On this about the
Well, all I can tell you was that in the end, I approached 10 companies, 10 local companies. 3 replied to me that they weren't able to do it within the time scale. 2 asked for further information, which I sent off, and they never replied. So, as the clerk, Colin had said, we needed to get on with the project, so we are going with the quote that we received in the first place. I've tried, I use companies suggested by councillors, suggested by friends, but they're either very, very busy, but 4 or 5 companies just didn't get back at all.
Okay. Sorry, keep going down the common side. That's it anyway. Okay.
I just want to pick up on the shop local. Councillors be aware that we're looking at, the list was loyalty card, vinyls for shop windows, and we're looking at benches, and benches does come up on the agenda. Just in terms of the loyalty card, which is all set up and ready to go, in terms of paying for it, we were originally expecting to pay the provider directly. We're now being asked if we can, rather than pay directly, that we can pay via One Haverhill partnership, and pay the organisation that paid the bill on receipt of or on seeing a receipted invoice with the same amount of money.
John, any comments on that at all?
People happy for that?
So this will be basically transferring the money to the One Haverhill Partnership bank account. Just to confirm that, yes. Did you hear me? Anyone hear me? Nobody hearing me?
I can hear you, John.
Yes, John.
Okay.
Everyone happy? It was trying
Yeah, no, sorry, Colin. I don't know if you could hear me. I was just asking questions. I was asking.
Yes, I wasn't seeing any reaction either.
Oh, okay, sorry. So nobody's got any questions on that, but I was just asking, mate, just to reiterate, this is just basically a bank transfer to One Haverhill Partnership bank account.
Yes, and then we'll pay the bill, or we'll repay the bill once we've seen the receipted invoice, so we know that the card provider has been paid for this.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay, let's move on. Public forum item 6. Anybody there?
No, not during the meeting.
Okay, item 7A. Receive a report from the Arts and Leisure Manager, which everyone should have had. And over to you, Nick. You're muted.
Do you want it on screen?
I don't know really. Are people all right if we just talk about it rather than have it on screen? Is that cool? So what the report is doing is bringing together the update on the project plans, which came to a meeting back in June, along with the progress we are making on the Arts Centre and a number of other issues. So I'm not going to go through it totally, but I mean, obviously the building arts community has moved forward really quickly. So that's something we've been looking to do to try, and we're very much aware that the Arts Centre was very much performance-based, where people came to see things, and it didn't always generate a lot of artistic activity itself. So during lockdown, we are trying to engage with the local artistic community so that when we can welcome them back into the building, we can see how we might use their talents within the building and within the wider Haverhill area. It's taken off fantastically, really, in terms of, 150 members signed up and are actively contributing to work on the website, which is being shown around the town as well. So the Facebook group is very vibrant, and there's very rarely a day goes past without something being posted, which engenders some kind of discussion or likes from it. Some members are more active than others. And as it says, there's students and pensioners as well as professional artists on there too. So that's really started to do what we wanted that to do. Sarah very imaginatively used that group to, she just showed a picture of some poppies that were hanging from trees that she'd seen in another town. And she said, "What do you think of this?" And within quite just a few days, poppies started appearing through the letterbox. So our office looked like a poppy field at one point. We didn't want to be raided by the drug squad at any point, but it was the office had a large amount of poppies growing in it for a long while, and they were put up in the trees. And I mean, we've had an amazing reaction to that again on Facebook, and from the pictures that people have been taking. And I was out there the other morning as little kids were passing and just touching the ones that were low enough to grow and wondering at them. And they formed a lovely picture as well on I took on Misty Morning on Remembrance Day as well. They're further working with that group now to produce artwork for shop windows and also for postcards, which the market, Sharon Fairweather, is looking to do as well. So it's a really vibrant and active group. West Suffolk Council, Lizzie Cocker, is very much engaged with Sarah on looking for ways to use that group as well. And the digital art notice board outside, we haven't got a lot going on in here, so there's been some lovely artwork appear on there as well. So really pleased with how that's progressing. There's more stages to come there, and I think it's something which we can really build upon. If you want to take any questions or comments on that project.
I can't see any, but the only thing I was going to say, Nick, and it's nothing, it's not a reflection on us at all, is the fact that and Joe may want to put his fingers in his ears. Castle Manor School not really responding to requests for help, as I understand it, because everything is always seems to be Samuel Ward, in terms of the judging panel for the artwork.
All right. I can certainly raise that with Sarah.
Yeah, I have raised it already, but she said she's just not getting any response. So I suggested she went straight to the head teacher. I don't know. It's a shame that we're excluding those people at Castle Manor. I mean, we're not excluding them, but they're not responding. So naturally, we're just excluding.
Okay, I can certainly pass on Vanessa Whitburn's
if you wouldn't mind, yeah.
I wonder whether Becky Baldwin would be a good person, but I know that she's actually a member of the group herself. So whether she's feeling that she would be a bit compromised by that, I don't know. But I can certainly pass that on to Sarah.
Okay, thank you. Nobody else. So Caroline.
No one else on that, right? Lovely. The next thing's the Haverhill Community Kitchen. We held interviews back in October, and sometimes you do interviews and you're very, very displeased with what happens and wonder if there's anybody out there for the job, and other times somebody falls into your lap, and I think that's what we feel with Sean at the moment. Sean introduced himself there a little bit about what his background is. He's a chef, he's also a teacher, he's a photographer, he's built a whole department of a major food retailer from the bottom up, really. So in terms of his skill set, it's really well suited. He's used to dealing with young people, as he's a football referee too, and it's been quite refreshing. And he certainly has contacts in the trade. He's already you know, just contributing. He's been in the office for a few days here because rather than heat up the Leyson Centre just for him to work in and the planning stages, he has been doing that from the office, and it's been very interesting. So there's a list of things which he has started to do there in terms of having a quick look at the kitchen, what state it's in, what we might need to do just to make sure we've got everything there that we need. He's got the Facebook page up and running again with some very, very tasty recipes, which again got good reaction there. He helped out with the Halloween trail. Sean has also done stewarding before. He's a member of a car club, so he's used to donning high-vis jackets, and again he was very good to work with down there. And we've also started to look at an app that we may have at the Arts Centre so that people can pre-order while they're there as well. And so Sarah and I were very busy at that point in time, so we gave that to Sean, and again he speaks the right language in terms of that as well, so he's been quite useful for that too. So what he's planning over the next month or so, he's going to work with Sarah on a communications plan to start looking at how we can get the kitchen out there a bit more. We're going to be looking at doing a winter advent calendar of recipes, again using the model of the artistic license group, asking for people from within the town to contribute their recipes. And we're not going to call it Christmas, so it's going to be a winter, so that we can have international recipes, and we want vegan and vegetarian recipes, so that in the lead up to Christmas we'll have a recipe a day on the websites. It's going to start to contact the past hirers to see, okay, can we sorry Tony,
You want to come in now, Tony? So you're muted. You're muted, Tony.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I was just putting my hand up to speak after you finished, actually.
all right, sorry.
Yeah, sorry,
Future, you know, past hirers, to look at how we might work with them. Obviously we can't fit them all back in at the moment in the same way, but whether we, you know, the groups which were larger, whether we're going to be able to divide those into 2 sets. Looking at the potential for a Christmas dinner project. There's a lot about feeding people around holidays, so it's something which I had a brief discussion with Colin about whether that might be an option, that we could produce Christmas dinners for people. So at the moment he's just having a costing up of that, so the idea would be that we could offer up at the Leyson Centre the opportunity for people to have a Christmas dinner, not on Christmas Day but pre-Christmas. That we're going to try, you know, there's an idea that we would like to do, which is amnesties, where people give us what's at the bottom of their fridge and we make things with it and give those out. And one of the things we're looking at to start off with is a vegetable amnesty, and Sean's making contact with Fair Share and market stalls and local supermarkets, which will make into soups, and then we'll serve soups on market days out of recyclable cups on the market as well. So just giving soup away, but advertising a little bit about what the kitchen can do. He's making contact with the current food suppliers that we have to introduce the kitchen, and also we've got some excess catering stock at the Arts Centre which we're looking to do as well. So we're trying to look at a couple of ideas which we might lose that stock with. We don't want to throw it away, because that would be a big waste. And so we're looking at the idea of maybe whether we could have platters that could be distributed to people. So it's cooked up and divided up, and platters taken out to people who might need those. So there's a lots of interesting ideas there going on. I mean, obviously what our ideal is to get the kitchen up and running and people using it again. We can't do that at the moment, and Sean is working with Gary on ways to see of how we might get people back in there, and he's looking at ways in which we can have workshops going on in a socially distanced way.
Brown.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks, Nick. I just wondered if there's any mileage in Steve managing to do some online stuff, some live stream, how to cook different stuff, etc., etc. After it's live stream, save it on there so people can go back to the website, reference it, show people how to cook, with minimum ingredients, nutritious food, that sort of stuff.
Yep.
Instead of Disco Kitchen, Haverhill Town Council Kitchen, something like
Yeah,
that.
definitely. It's actually something we've talked about, Tony, in terms of, we've got the Disco Kitchen, we might have the cooking kitchen. And he has showed me just the end of last week on some things he's produced previously that, which are very, very simple, rather than too complicated, long things. They're put together in almost like a mini PowerPoint. Definitely, that's definitely something which he has previously done and we could do as well.
Yeah, it'd be a great way of engaging with the town, and as I say, you haven't got to worry too much about social distancing, that sort of thing. So yeah, brilliant. Yeah, cheers.
Councillor Fox.
Nick, put me down as a volunteer for the Christmas dinners, and put my mum down as well. She used to be a cook. She can help.
And Nick, actually, you can add me to that list.
Okay. If you'd like to sign up at the volunteer centre, then hopefully we'll be using the volunteer centre to help recruit people. So it's just an idea at the moment, but it's something which we identified previously, and it could be a really great way to give people something which they might not get. But thank you for that. I will certainly make a note of that.
All right, a couple of things, Nick. I appreciate Sean's is funded from a community chest grant from whenever it was, year before last. But I would like, if possible, for him to get involved with the zone menus and things, because he's got that good background, give some ideas to them, particularly over more unusual things, vegan, all that sort of stuff. And the only other thing, I guess I have no idea what the Salvation Army are doing this year in terms of Christmas dinners and things. And I know they serve it on Christmas Day, but it'd be worthwhile him contacting them and making sure that they're part of the team, as it were, if they're going to do anything at all this year.
Okay, certainly.
Sorry, John, did you say the Salvation Army? I just missed who you. No, they're not. They're not going to do anything. And there is a group in town, Natalie Gilder.
Yeah.
I've connected her up with them because she's trying to do something independent, and they're connecting up with the schools. So hopefully there is some connectivity going on. But there will be people who get missed in the middle.
But equally, we need to be involved.
No, quite. Just so they're not doing anything because they can't be seen.
We can't just leave people by the wayside, equally.
And as far as the zone goes, Sean is very interested in looking at how he might make some suggestions wherever, really, however he can help out. So.
Yeah, that's usually expertise. Okay, anything else on that subject? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Carry on.
So the next one was Clean Haverhill, Green Haverhill. We've got a meeting of the Energy and Sustainability Group on Monday the 16th. And this is a part of the project in terms of energy and sustainability, is the wider engagement of the people of Haverhill, rather than there's a focus on how we might make ourselves a carbon neutral town further down the line and what the town council can do. But this is a very much, again, it's kind of based along the lines of how can we get people involved, giving each other ideas. And so it's would look to create another Facebook group of like-minded people who have got an interest in green policies, environmental policies, sharing tips and hacks on what they do at home, space saving and energy saving tips as well. So we'd be careful not to make it something which people could sell their services on, but very much of a sharing site to start looking at that. And when we did the couple of lockdown surveys, there was a surprising amount of people from that. I think there's more than 50 people said that they would be interested in volunteering for environmental projects. So it'd be looking to how how we might make some of those happen as well. So I'll be putting something forward to that meeting on Monday, just about that part of the green agenda.
Councillor Smith?
Yeah, Nick, would it be possible to circulate a list or some links to these Facebook groups? Because we seem to have a lot of them now, and well, I'm losing track of them for one anyway. Thanks.
Certainly, yeah. So that would be the artistic license and the kitchen so far, yeah. So I can certainly let you know where they are, definitely. Anything else?
Anything else on that one? No. Carry on, Nick, please.
So the next one is the Torkston Community Garden. So this is a project which has got a panel that was formed in 2019. So this was re-engaging with the community about their ideas for how the Torkston community space could be developed. So it's there really over a period of time. We had some workshops and members of the public, also members of groups such as the Youth 3A, the Cub Scouts, some church groups, Haverhill in Bloom, plus people from Samuel Ward and Churchill schools came on that, as well as councillors and Vicky Phillips as well, came on those workshops, and they were on site just having a look at the site and the potential for it. So from that, they was run by Stephanie Hartick. Now Stephanie runs carers workshops, art workshops in the town. And when I had my first meeting with her, she talked about how she was a landscape surveyor as well. So she's kind of an ideal person. She's an artist as well as a landscapes person, as well as someone who is very much involved in health and well-being through the environment. And that was one of the original parts of what the space was looking to do for. So how it was that people were given an outline of the area, which is not the total area of that land. There is still a part of it at the top which is not for the garden, and they are also on it was a piece the size of the possible proposed site for the skate park, and they went through a process of having a look at what they thought, what their priorities were. So from those workshops, we've got lots and lots of ideas and lots of diagrams as to what people felt. And Stephanie produced a report, which I sent through as well. So this is just feeding back on that, that process there. Colin's asked that the findings of that consultation goes back to the panel that were established, so that they can have a look at that too. So the designs that Stephanie's put forward are kind of the best bits of what everyone has put forward in terms of how that group of people felt that land could be used. But those designs leave space for bits of the garden to be created as it goes along. So it's very much an initial concept. It might not be the final concept, but it's taking into account the ideas that were put forward in those workshops.
Fuller Brown.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Nick, will there be any consultation with the nearby residents and businesses? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. Yep,
definitely. That's the, well, once it's been to the panel, that's the next part of it. Well, a big part of the nearby residents are Cleves Place, and they're involved on the panel, and they're involved in the workshops as well. So the people that came on the workshops weren't the residents, but they were the arts and engagement. Ramona, who works with the clients up there, as well as the caretaker guy, the guy who runs the grounds as well. So he was looking at the links between the two spaces as well.
Yeah,
so,
I know.
And in terms of local residents, a couple did come on, but yes, it would be very much looking at what their thoughts would be.
Yeah.
And it's very much that people felt that space should be an open space without too much organisation to it. So there's not lots and lots of change. It's formalising it slightly more, planting it, and putting some trees on it before other projects could be put into the educational side of it as well. Just engaged with the district council as well, so they're commissioning a topographical survey. So whatever that land is used for, the space will require a topographical survey. And in terms of an ecological survey, the district council's officer has said now is not a good time to look at that, because some of the wildlife that might be there, or the flowers that might be growing there, won't be over the winter months. But there's not so much change to the space that's going to be made that any other form of survey would be needed, because it's not like we're making a massive alteration to what the site is already.
I can't see Joe at the moment, but I was concerned with the concerned paragraph on the last page, or the second page rather, of the report, where basically the original plan was to put a new skate park on this site somewhere. It's one of the reasons that we as a town council, I thought, which was suggested by Tony, you know, with all the kids, and I'm just a little bit concerned that it seems to have just been completely pushed to one side by the report. And I understand what people are saying, but I'm a bit, I mean, whether or not it's the right place or not is another matter, but I'm just sort of concerned that people are sort of not threatening, but saying, look, you know, if you do that, we're not going to get involved.
Well, all I can say is that was the result of the workshops. The groups that came along, I think it was the U3A and one of the other groups, just were not, you know, I can't change what happened at the workshop. They were given the information and the plans, and it showed a site for a potential skate park. What they chose to say at that was, at their workshop, was what they felt about it. So,
but what did someone like the Samuel Ward, or we didn't invite Castle Manor again, did we? Or
no, it's not. It wasn't an invitation, John. It was for people to sign up to it. It was during the summer holidays, so the people that came from Samuel Ward were teachers on their own time. So it wasn't an invitation thing.
No, I understand that. But did we have any young people there? I'm talking about, you know, the like teenagers.
There weren't any teenagers came along, but we had in the family workshop, we had two people with young families, and there were contributions on Facebook as well. So we put it onto Facebook about the family option, and they put on, there were a lot of ideas which were incorporated into Stephanie's report from there. So the skate park was shown on the plan that was given to them, but the majority of the people that did it all chose to say, well, we don't see that as something there. That isn't the final, you know, the final decision rests with the council for whether their skate park is sited there. That isn't the decision. That isn't anything to do with this is what came out of the consultation.
I understand. I'm just making sure that, and that's one of the reasons I think Tony's quite right. We need to make sure that we engage certainly people who live around that area, and you know, it shouldn't be just purely for people over the age of 50 or something. It should be all age ranges. Which
yep, and that's what we encouraged. And as I say, this was a sample of people from lots of different groups. Some of those people were representing different groups. So there was someone from the Scouts and Guides, and there was someone from one of the churches, which has a number of young people as part of it as well. But no young people themselves came forward for those workshops. So this isn't the end of the process. But
no, I understand that. No, I'm just trying to, I mean, I was at one of those things, and you know, I expressed some concern about the clash, if you like, between a skate park and what was being said at that meeting. But anyway, that's fine. You know, that's fine. You know, as you say, it's not the end of the process. Anybody else want to say? I cannot see anyone putting their hand up. Right, sorry, back.
Okay, so the last one from the summer was summer report was, we called it on the report at a suitable distance, which was really a coverall for events really, and the events program that was delivered over the summer was the Haverhill Arts Centre out of doors theatre weekends in the Scouts and Guides, and also the buskers in the High Street as well. So we had more than 700 people at that, and £350 raised for local charities by the buskers too. So, and that was a good way for us to engage with our audiences at that point as well. So that was successful. It came in well within budget. The complete budget was not used by any means up on that, on those promotions. We were looking at doing a second one, but guidelines intervened on that. So moving forward, we would like to, in discussions with a number of people, including some councillors, about the idea of having things ready to go should lockdown finish on the 2nd of December and allow public events and allow people to go outside to do things, to try and get some kind of normality back and some kind of good feeling back into the town centre especially. So this would be looking at how we could incorporate street entertainers. If you're on stilts, you're already socially distanced because you're a couple of meters up in the air. So on Saturdays, having some stilt entertainers and some musicians, re-engaging with the local musicians again to provide a second lot of performers in the town centre on market days. Would like to have a look at the idea of, along the lines of the Halloween trail, a winter trail, which could take place in the same site, but also potentially over a larger site as well. Just getting some ideas about how it might start in the town centre and end up in a place. So we're playing with the idea of an advent calendar again, 24 things to do as part of the trail. But that's all coming together at the moment. So the request here is really for a budget of £15,000 to be made available to deliver projects which we can start to work up now, start to get booked on the proviso that should we not be allowed to do them, they won't go ahead.
Fox.
Just quickly, can we not put the local entertainers next to Paul Furman? I mean, as nice as he is, he's got a very loud voice for his oranges and what have you, and they were trying hard to sing. They couldn't compete.
I was going to answer that, but Councillor Lucarini, I think, popped down.
I was going to say, I think we already said that this time round we would bring a PA system with us. That they need amplifying.
Yeah, if you talk about the young lady who did that, that was primarily because she was she didn't know that she wasn't going to have a PA system. Councillor Smith.
Yeah, I see. It's saying that it's 15,000 is from the existing budget anyway, so it's not extra money at all. Yeah, I'd like to propose that we do that.
Before we get on to proposals, let me. I'm not so certain about the street entertainers personally. I'm more than happy to support local people. I'm a bit worried about bringing in people from all over afar. As far as I'm personally concerned, the street entertainers don't necessarily bring people into the town. It's what else we can provide. But first of all, I've got Councillor Mason first.
I put my hands up in preparation to second. As regards to street entertainers, if it's about atmosphere, I mean, if we can source people locally, great. But I mean, I support the idea of street entertainers if it's about creating an ambience that shoppers can enjoy and make everyone feel a bit Christmassy. So I'm certainly not against the idea of that.
Councillor Lucarini again.
Yeah, Sharon Fairweather has requested that the town council help provide some street entertainment in December. she feels the high street needs a kind of a bit of life put back into it after this second lockdown, and it'd be great to kind of support her on market days and the rest of the existing shops.
Yeah, I was more thinking about the local musician, making sure that they're not pushed out by.
Well, then, yeah, but we need both. I think they can.
I don't want to spend a lot. I personally don't want to spend a lot of money on professional people when we should be able to get people who are local. That's my personal view. Councillor Tony Brown.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. We should be ready to go as soon as the lockdown is over, hopefully. Get everything prepared, Nick. So well done to that. And I think, to be fair, we should have a mixture of local, as many as we can, give them a chance, but also, yeah, have some professional people in as well. Hopefully not too many, but just every shopping day, just try and have something going on down there leading up to Christmas. It'd be great if we can.
Councillor Marks.
Yeah, just as I walked through Bury on Saturday, going down to the Abbey Gardens, and there was a street entertainer there, and people were obviously very happy to see the street entertainer. You could see by the way they behaved towards the street entertainer, and he was actually very good, and it was really nice. It certainly, it was a difficult weekend, and it certainly lifted the atmosphere. It was really nice, so I'm totally in support of that.
Colin.
Thank you. Just for clarification, for councillors, particularly Nick, you already have a £19,000 budget approved by full council for your winter events. You're just basically telling councillors your ideas for how that money, you're talking about 15,000, would be spent. So this is this year's set of activities as opposed to what normally might be put on, because obviously we can't, normal isn't normal anymore.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Sorry, I wasn't questioning the money side of things. I was just questioning it. I mean, obviously, we don't know what's going to happen on December the 2nd. I've got my own thoughts about that. I'm always pessimistic, though. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
I mean, if council would like to give me the go ahead just to spend the Christmas budget, then I can add that in. Really, it's
I don't think the idea, but
a cheeky ask there.
Right. Well, we had I don't think I'm going to ask any comments. We had a proposal from Dave Smith. I think Joe Mason actually seconded it, I believe. Are all those in favour, please show? Are you voting, Alan, or not?
I can't vote.
Oh no, it's written on the committee. Sorry. I've been looking around every person. That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the next part is the update on things that have been happening or have happened or are happening. So the first is the Halloween trail, which was wet. Unfortunately, there's the one day that they haven't got the weather very wrong on that day. But some people have said, well, it kind of added to it. But it's, we had 1,250 people over the course of the evening. And generally, the feedback was very positive about it. And the distancing was sensible. And it was very interesting watching it over the 3 different times we ran it. Everyone was slightly different in terms of the makeup of the people that came along, the scare levels, and so we learned a little bit more about how events. But there was I did put a quote in there, which is a really nice thing, because the Zoom things that I go on with other organisers really stress about this message about how safe events are the things to do. How is it going to be safe? How are we going to make them safe? And this was just so lovely to read that somebody said the safety restrictions put in place for COVID were fab. So that's really nice to know that worked, and that message gets across to other people that the town council are putting on safe events. thanks to the 4 councillors who came out and got wet on that evening and that day, and in advance of it, Councillor Greeny, Councillor Burns, and after it. Clearing up day was pretty horrendous too. The Scouts and Guides are really pleased with the use of their site, even though there are still a few tie marks on it. And Happy Faces Playgroup, again, they really work well with us as well to produce an exit. So it's lovely to have an in and an out at different parts of the site, which is, you know, we don't even get that down East Town Park really. They come in and go out the same. Some people like that little site better as well. It's very interesting to see how it works. So generally a pleasing result to an evening. It was lovely to have a long time to set something up and have a look at what it could be looking like. So it was being set up on the Thursday. Normally it's set up in a day and we don't know what it's going to look like until half an hour beforehand. So that was cool to do. Got any questions or comments on?
Councillor Carini?
Yeah, I was just going to say it was a really good event, Nick. Probably one of my favourite trails that I've seen. But considering that it was a much smaller site, and I think I only done about a third of the steps I did at East Town Park, I was still absolutely shattered after.
Yeah, I would agree though. I think it's a much nicer site. You know, if you have to, East Town Park's, you know, great site of course, but if you have to get called to the other side, it's a long walk over there to get there. The only thing I had, I've seen nobody else has got anything. I do owe you feedback, by the way, Nick, because although you might have had 1,250 bookings, we certainly didn't have that number came through the door. There were lots of people who booked 6 tickets and ended up with 2 people coming in. But anyway, I'll feedback on that. The other thing I did notice the other day when I picked the trailer up is all the rubbish in the far corner of the site.
Yep, that's on the way to be picked up. We haven't, because of the weather, we haven't managed to be able to. It's not been firm enough to get anything down there to get it.
I was just going to warn. That's all I was going to say. Warn you, make sure you don't go over there.
Yeah, the disposal is in hand, but we can't dispose of it until we can get down to it.
Councillor Mason. Joe.
Yes, thank you, Chair. The booking system, correct me if I'm wrong, was entry was £1 per person, was it not? What's happening with these funds? If it's going back into the pot, is there any opportunity perhaps we can redirect it to a local cause, such as a food bank? I don't remember any discussion about what would happen to the funds that we received on the night.
The funds, as you put them, are really ticket income against the budget, really. So the event itself was actually budgeted to receive, I think, £1,250, and it just got about that anyway. So from the bucket system as well. So it's ticket income to go back against the expenditure.
Is there anybody else on that Halloween trail? No. Okay, Carol, thank you.
The next event that we have managed to put on, which was a far nicer day to do something, was the Remembrance Service on Sunday. So this report was written before it went ahead. Apart from a couple of groups not being allowed, the MOD didn't allow the cadets to attend, which was slightly unusual. I think they did go in. I know for a fact the HTC went and laid their wreath, not as part of the wreath laying ceremony. But it went ahead again successfully. The feedback at the end was that people felt it was very appropriate, and the distancing measures that we put in place were effective. And the live screen, I don't know how many people have watched the live stream. I'm sure John will let us know that. But no, considering how we had to do it, then I think again it was a successful and safe event.
Councillor Lucarini, do you know those numbers?
I know that we had just over 200 people watching live on Facebook. I don't know what the views are since though.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the views, funny enough, I thought were very low compared to the number of people who would normally wander out onto the street, which was a bit of a shame. And the police were not able to attend either, because of their, the threat level had gone up to severe. They're not allowed to attend events like that.
I did want to pay tribute to Brian and Shami and Thompson, who work. Not only did they do a lot towards the remembrance, they also volunteered to steward on the Halloween trail as well. They're great people to have around, and absolute diamonds, really. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was a good day. Long day for some of us, you know. Especially being in the cemetery at 6:45 in the morning in thick fog. It was a bit spooky.
Coming to the end now. Oh,
sorry, Colin. Sorry.
I just wanted to make the point in terms of, I mean, yeah, I think those events were very well organised, and I think, to be perfectly honest, I think a lot of the people who participated would probably comment that they were better than normal in terms of the actual experience, and we'll probably have to just make sure that the messaging isn't lost, that it wasn't normal, and that Halloween trail wouldn't normally be possible. We couldn't get the normal number of people through in that space in that time. It would have to double the length of the Halloween trail, and of course there was lots more people who would have liked to have been at the War Memorial. So we just have to be careful we don't become a victim of our own success, of the organising committee and Nick's work, that people think this is a new benchmark that we can achieve every single year, because of course it in the case of Halloween trail it simply wouldn't be affordable, and in the case of the Remembrance Day there would simply be far more people and we wouldn't be able to put people off coming. But the events themselves I thought were exceptionally well done, and I certainly felt safe, and felt, particularly in the case of Halloween trail where obviously I was a licensee there, is that it just felt like, more like I had something out of a textbook than anything one needed to worry about. So I think it's only well done on that.
Thank you, Colin. I was just looking at some figures. The live stream video, which obviously, as Aaron mentioned, had about 200 odd views, eventually turned up at 1,900 views. But the edited one, which I put up later that day, has now just got slightly under 4,000 people watched it. That's pretty good. Makes it worthwhile. Thank you. Sorry, Nick, carry on.
Nearly there. Haverhill Arts Centre. So in terms of programming, we were due to open tomorrow. It's never been so easy to actually program. Everyone who was programmed to be in November has just said yes to the date they were offered in January, really. So we've just shifted it wholesale across. We're keeping the events from the 4th of December on sale, and we'll see how we go ahead. The comedy night, which is the first one, know that they might not happen, and the ones for next week as well, depending on ticket sales. There's no appetite for ticket sales at the moment, no confidence in ticket sales, so they're aware that they may or may not go ahead as well. So we're just keeping a watching brief on those. What we really hope is that by the time we get to the mid-December, the panto that we've got planned can go ahead. We had really strong sales on that on the first few days that we put that on sale, and the pantomimes elsewhere that are going or had been due to go ahead are selling very well. People are looking forward to that type of entertainment. Obviously, there are difficulties not knowing what level or what tier we might come out in. It's possible that if we came out in tier 2, that our panto ticket sales might not be legal, because there'll be people who were going to be coming with people not inside their bubble and their household, who they were going to be sitting with, who they might not be able to. But that's a bridge that we will have to cross when we come to it. So yeah, that's where we are with the live program. the building. So we've painted downstairs and the customer area and the bar. So we've finished doing that, and we're starting backstage and staff areas. We've cleaned the swags at the top for the first time in many a years. They've been sitting there with some quite antique dust on them. So we've managed to get that done as well with a crazy vacuum cleaner we've got. And the link structure construction begins on the week beginning the 24th of May. In terms of staffing, we've brought them in for coronavirus safety and event training. So we've walked around the journey, the customer journey, and we're back on the trail of making sure that everything fits and everyone knows what everyone is doing. One of the points from last time's meeting was about potential for live streaming and online engagement. So I've been working with Sarah Marsh on that. We have done quite a lot of consultation with our audience. It wouldn't be right for us really just to put things on and expect there to be an audience. So we have asked our audience previously what type of event they might engage with online. And we've also spoken with other venues as to the success of those online things. There is a bit of a, it does appear as though the appetite for them has gone down as people got Zoom fever and not quite so interested in that sort of thing. So again, I've got a report that Sarah did from our audience about the types of things that people say that they may come to. So I think what we would look to do is over the next period, we will look to see how we can add a live stream in of a couple of selected events to see whether that audience will engage. Us putting something on specifically to live stream, things don't come free. So, so there are companies out there offering their products for live stream, but it's not a free thing to do. We continue to promote the events which are available. So the National Theatre ones, there's something called What's on Stage, and they're starting to put out a number of London shows which people can engage with as well. So in terms of our own self-generated, we will look at the logistics and the possibilities of live streaming a couple of those things that we are doing, and the other types of things which have been successful and are going on in other art centres are more like workshops, like poetry workshops and crafty workshops and art workshops, which isn't our general audience, it's more of our artistic license audience. So we can develop that with those as well. So we have got some figures and statistics on the types of things that we could look at doing. None of them all of them have some kind of cost to adding them in, and it would be interesting to see how much people might pay. We've asked people how much people might pay for an online experience as well. So that is being thought about to see how we might add that in, but that won't be until the existing program starts. We will continue to promote the type of things that go on here. There's some guitarists on Saturday week who have appeared here, who are doing their own live stream, and we'll continue to promote the type of thing that goes on here, but that won't be generated from here. So if you've got any questions about the Arts Centre or
Councillor Brown?
Yeah, Nick, thanks very much. Is there any thoughts at all about redecorating the cafeteria? I always find it so dreary, that colour scheme in there. Yeah, brighten it up, some lighter paint, etc. It's an ideal opportunity to do so, with it being shut at the moment.
well,
And it's about 3 years ago since it was last decorated.
it's all part of the colour scheme that was put forward, and so it's just been redecorated in the same colour scheme.
Oh no.
The one part of it that we have looked at doing is the windows. Is that people have said it's the windows that do that, and also the lighting. The lighting was has not been, and there has been a look at how we might improve the lighting in that space.
Yeah.
So that is definitely possible, but we haven't got any plans to actually physically redecorate that area because it fits with the rest of the downstairs decoration.
Yeah, if you could brighten it up, it does look dreary there. That yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else? Carry on, Nick.
Leiston Community Centre, we were just about to re-engage with that, and we'll do it again once we get there. There are some groups which can and some groups which can't. We have got interest in other groups now who haven't been able to get in other spaces as well, so we will start talking to them. Obviously the difficulty is that once our regular hirers come back in, we might have to say ta-ta to the ones who have taken their space. But we are looking at which groups could make use of the Leiston space, because it is an easier space for us to rent out than here at the current time. And finally, Christmas lights.
Before you carry on, Nick, I was very intrigued by the statements that new double glazed windows, units and blinds are due to be installed.
Yeah.
I'm not aware that we've approved any budget on that at all.
There's a Leiston improvement.
I know, but we had plans for modifications, didn't we, to the main hall front entrance, so people didn't walk through the old kitchen, as it's called.
They've been superseded by the reinstatement of the existing entrance. So there's work to make the disabled access to that entrance on the agenda. It was to look at how the disabled entrance might be made better as well, and with the work that's due to be going on out the front, we're looking to reinstate the use of the existing doors through working with the groups rather than put in a new entrance now.
Okay. Last time I heard, we were just looking at doing it. I hadn't realised that we'd actually made a big decision to replace, because that's going to be expensive changing all those windows.
I've got quotes in, and it's you know, they're coming within the existing Leiston budget for the existing in the earmark reserves for Leiston improvements.
Okay, doesn't mean
well within.
Doesn't mean we have to spend the reserves. I thought we would have been told that we were doing this. Okay. No, I wasn't aware that there's, unless Colin knows differently. I'm not saying it should be done, but you know, it's because we ought to maybe think about, you know, if we're going to do it, should we be looking at things like we've done on the kitchen, is put in proper guards on the windows.
Yeah, there is the potential to put a guard in on one of the windows, which is the one closest to the entrance, and that can be costed in. At the moment, it's the blinds within the place, which are just awful.
Well, I know that, but we don't necessarily have to replace them with blinds either. We could put something else there, but it's not a case of replacing necessarily like with like, I would have suggested.
For covering those windows without having electric blinds which have to be put up and down by users over the course of something, and have privacy and be able to open windows, then the types of blinds that are there, we've talked with a blind specialist, there aren't many because of the scale of those windows. Those windows are many feet wide, so the only way in which you can have a continuous set of blinds is the down blinds, without having lots and lots of roller blinds that you have to put up and down.
No. You could have integral blinds to the windows, which I've had at home here. I mean, I have no problem with it, but I would have liked to have seen how much it's going to cost and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I can certainly.
Colin?
I was just going to make the point that some of this, the decision making around this, actually dates back several years. So we'd have to go back and check what's already been approved. I know that the ramp that Nick referred to was a grant, I believe, from it was a council locality grant from the same time as the kitchen was done, and there were several other improvements agreed. So I think it may just be the passage of time that's created a gap between when we agreed to do these things and actually getting done.
And
Yeah.
one of the existing windows is actually rotted away. The frame, the window sill outside is actually rotted off.
Oh, I know that. I know that from when the CCTV was installed. I mean, you know, they're in very poor condition, all the whole lot. And it's a shame that when we did the kitchen, we didn't do the whole lot as a job lot either. But I was just, you know, I'm got no problem with it. I've just practiced that. You know, if it was several years ago, Colin, I would have expected to have had an update recently.
Yeah, that's a fair comment. We'd have to check back and see exactly what the approvals were. Certainly, if they predate the election, then we probably need to get it approved again. But I know that Nick spoke a few months back about the difficulties in getting the double glazing in, thinking it was going to be a lockdown job, and it turned out that it was going to take that long just to get onto the order books.
No, supply problems, massive supply problems here. No, that's fine. Okay. I mean, I've been advocating replacing those things, or the other thing is, of course, knock the building down and rebuild a new one. But anyway, that's not matter. Okay, sorry, Nick, to interrupt. You're going on to Christmas lights.
The Christmas lights, so the scheme will be put up or installed over the next couple of weeks, ready for them to be turned on the 21st of November. Lockdown will mean that we can't have a formal public switch on. We do have the potential to film bits of it being switched on and being made into a video, which we can put around just to show that the lights are on. But my thoughts are just on there about timings, really. The time switches or generally, when they work, to come on at 4:30 and go off at midnight. If we do come out of lockdown with restrictions, it's just potentially that everyone's out of town by 10:15, and there's lots of lights on without anybody down there at all. But or whether there's thought we just leave it. It's difficult to change it because of the number of lampposts that would need to be rejigged, and the complexity of doing that. A number of the timers are very, very old and temperamental, and also there would be a cost if we wanted to change it halfway through. We would have to pay for them to come in and change it, or whether we just leave it as is. The only additional cost is really that it would save electricity.
Well, Aaron?
Yeah, I was just going to say, personally, I would leave it how it is. You never know, there might be a chance that the month of Christmas, the government relaxes restrictions and things can stay open slightly longer. Plus, for anyone driving through the town slightly later at night, it might look a little bit miserable if they all suddenly go off. 10:30 might be a tad early. As for the filming, as I said to you earlier today, that I'm really keen at looking to film it and can certainly help with that. I think it'd be nice to put something up online as kind of a virtual light switch on.
Colin?
Just an observation, we pay a flat unmetered supply charge for the Christmas lighting, so I doubt that having them off for half an hour is going to make any difference to what we get charged anyway.
But just leave as is, yeah?
Yeah, I would. If the technology's that old, arguably, why haven't we got nice new modern powered by your iPhone, change it that way type things? But
Cool.
Yeah, I'd agree. Councillor Marks?
Yeah, it's amazing what people notice as well. And, if we have some continuity of what we've always had in that, then we're not going to get any adverse criticism either. So, and I think, like Aaron said, when people are driving up the high street or walking up the high street, it doesn't matter if it's one person or 10, it can actually lift the spirit quite substantially. And we're at a time when anything that does that at the moment, I think, is an absolute bonus. And the effort of turning it all off, I think just leave it as it is. And looking forward to them going up actually, because they always look wonderful. So the good news.
Okay, thank you. And just lastly, really, we talked about how to get the people of Haverhill involved. Again, talking with a lot of people, November the 21st is very early to expect people to put their own lights on. So now I'm now working with Sarah on a pre-lockdown light up, so that December the 1st is a much more equitable time to do that too. So we'll just be encouraging people to turn on their own lights and then share their lights. We did think about a map and the competition, but we would have to have a buy-in. There may be some people who like to share their lights but not where they are, so we would have to have the permission of those people who were entering for people to go and look at their places, really, rather than just encouraging people to turn out outside number 35 Bailey Close because it looks nice, because we know where it is. So we will be encouraging people to share their Christmas lights and invite them to put where they are if they wish to. So I think that's it. I did put a few photographs on the end this time, just so you could see some of the things that are going on, the trees and the poppies, the artwork, some images from the Halloween trail, especially that one with the old independent church. And people have loved that view of it, because you don't see that church hardly from anywhere else, and from within that garden, apart from Councillor Lucarini's background, where you always see that picture now. There's the longest vacuum cleaner in the world, and Dame Dora, who's our Dame this year. So thank you. That's my report for this meeting.
Nick. Where we go? Colin, sorry, Zone.
Yes, we did distribute the report earlier, as the councillors got a chance to read it, or do you want me to put it up on screen? I'll be kind of talking to it anyway.
Yeah, I got it. I've read it.
Okay, so the zone was open last week. Obviously, the intention was for it to be open for all of November and December, etc. But we were cut short in terms of the national lockdown. But I said to go ahead anyway, because we need to have a small-scale test of whether or not everything is going to work. And it seems silly having got everything ready to pass over the opportunity, because if it did turn out to be anything major, then the lockdown would actually provide us with the opportunity to make any changes. In actual fact, it all seemed to have gone very well, really. So it was on a booking system. Sandra and Sarah worked together to enable Spectrix to be used, so people could book. That helped with obviously the contact tracing, etc. as well. And it had added benefits of the fact that we then knew actually how many people were coming, and therefore staffing and food levels, etc. One of the tests was the financial feasibility of the of opening, and it's clear from the feedback you can see on finances that although there is some room to bring in more people, more customers, and potentially that means also more food. And we've also established that we can slightly trim the staff hours, as the amount of time that we allowed for cleaning and drying the equipment. Some of that was actually taken up by the equipment simply drying itself, and it didn't really require the staff to be there watching it dry. So there are some slight tweaks to be done, but it does mean that whilst we're having to operate under any form of restriction, it doesn't look like the zone will be able to make any surplus, certainly, and it's likely to just about cover the variable costs of opening, and therefore I would not expect it. I may be pleasantly surprised, but I wouldn't expect it to make any contribution towards any fixed costs. The advantages are that we preserve our jobs, because whether or not those the furlough is going to go through till March now, but if we can stand on our own 2 feet, that's good, and we can preserve the market so that people get used to coming to the zone. So I think that even though the costs of it being open are effectively the same as it being shut, as long as the furlough scheme keeps going, then I think we're probably better off open. And certainly I think the staff thoroughly enjoyed actually being back at work. Certainly the impression I got from Sandra this morning when she was running through all of this. You'll see some points of note there just in terms of meals, etc. And I'm sure there'll be more food and more things can be done there. It does seem like the training and the organisation and the planning and practice all seem to come together very well, and I was particularly pleased that they even managed to include a bit of time for giving work experience to a school student as well, which must be fairly rare in these times. Thank you to Ben and Gary for providing a refresher training on the fire escape and also the training on coronavirus awareness, etc. What was interesting was some of the things, it wouldn't matter where the staff were working, just simple things like they've been there so long to forget some of the access codes, etc., that you need to get into the IT. And I have to be honest, when I arrived at the Arts Centre on Sunday in readiness for the remembrance, I stood at the front door of the office, and just for that moment I thought, what's that number again? So I can appreciate that it was useful for staff to actually remind themselves after what was 8 months of or 7 months of not being there, how things actually work. So you can see there the lessons learned, etc. So I think it was a useful trial. And Sandra is organising a staff rota. I did say to check with Nick about whether or not Panto will go ahead. If Panto goes ahead at the Arts Centre with daytime sessions, then the Arts Centre Cafe will be able to open to service that. So obviously that will have an impact on the staffing of the zone. It was very good to see our staff from the Arts Centre and from the zone working together. I think that, to be honest, was fostered in some of Nick's events through the summer and also at the Halloween trail. And it was good to see people back in their more normal surroundings and working together. That'll continue. I can pause there, or I can go straight on with the youth work, and then people can discuss things.
The only thing I had, Colin, I can't see any other hands up, although Councillor Carini's I've lost his picture, is we installed a new kitchen canopy over the lockdown period, which is rather strong, and I understand this was facilitated by Glenn Edwards at Chippers for us with his vast experience. And I understand it's been quite effective.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's right that we publicly record our thanks to Glenn and also to Roy from Metcraft and some of the other local tradespeople who work together to hopefully that will mean that the experience both of staff and particularly for customers visiting the zone will not be an all-pervading sense of smell of chips. So that's, unless they're standing the wrong side of the exhaust fan from this new gadget that's been installed, that I think it'll give the event in the Arts Centre kitchen a run for its money. They'll probably be blowing kisses at each other, I should think. So the detached youth work, just to go on with that, just to say that I've discussed this with Sandra, and really we feel that we need to adopt the same stance we took during the previous lockdown, which is that as public servants, if we're out communicating with young people, we really don't have much choice. That our youth workers have to point out to young people who are meeting unlawfully in groups that is unlawful and that they need to disperse. But that's not the role we want our youth workers to be taking on. It would simply undermine their relationship with young people, and it would be naive to think that young people won't be out in groups. So we took the view last time that rather than get ourselves in a position where we're having to have discussions, we're not the police, we don't want to have those discussions with young people, that it's better to preserve a relationship and wait until we can go out and have the discussion. We want to talk and communicate and engage with young people, not simply tell them to disperse. So that's the report really. So if anyone has any questions.
Doesn't look like it, Colin. We move swiftly on then to item 8, benches in the high street. Is that you, Colin, going to do that, or Aaron? Colin? Aaron?
I can, if unless Colin wants to, I can kind of explain. Obviously, there already was the budget from last meeting to put some benches in the high street, which was shared with this Loyal Free app. We've identified a kind of a number of locations where benches could go, and the budget is now a little stretched. So this additional money will go towards far more locations. Also in conversations with Sharon Fairweather from West Suffolk Council and the Safer Places group, we're looking at trying to stop cars from driving over the market square now that the highway assistance guy has been stood down. One of the original ideas was to put some planters along there, but the market obviously uses the square on a Friday and they'd be in the way. So one of the ideas is to buy some picnic benches to go along the edge of the market square to stop cars from crossing over, but also be easy to move out the way for the market, potentially for market traders to actually utilise. Things like the coffee van can actually put them around his stall and provide some seating.
Yep, I think we're going to hopefully include some more bins as well, aren't we, Aaron, if we can?
I think we hope. Well, I think we hope that West Suffolk would actually kind of.
Oh no, not as part of that budget, but to include where we got benches.
Oh yeah. I think the idea should be that we ask West Suffolk Council to kind of match fund. We'll buy the benches, and I think they can buy a few more bins for us.
Well, I think they've actually got them in storage. Actually.
Well, yeah.
Nick, sorry.
Can I just ask if the big problem we have with the bench by the Arts Centre is that it is frequented by a group of guys predominantly who are street drinkers, especially at the moment, who are out there, and they come down and they, when we've got the gate open, they come and wee down the side of the Arts Centre, and they've been occasionally abusive to us as well, and they talk very, very loudly while we're trying to work in the office, and we'd actually prefer if that bench wasn't there. But I just wondered about the enforcement of the no alcohol thing, as that they could be just choosing to go around the different benches, and if you're putting them outside the front of some of the shops, that their behaviour might not be conducive with some of the shops that the benches might go out the front of. It's just from our experience with how that bench is used.
Okay. I'll update you on that. I had a meeting today. There's been quite a lot of proactive efforts by the police under the public space protection orders that were available in town for drinking. They tend to congregate mostly around the bus station now, and they've just been. Some of them have just been issued with COVID-19 restriction orders because they're all gathering in more than 2 people. So the police are fully aware of this on this. But I understand what you're saying. The other problem we have, Nick, which I was talking to the police this afternoon about, is West Suffolk just replaced the camera on the opposite side of the road to the Arts Centre, and it no longer looks at the Arts Centre at any time. It swings around from Hamlet Road right away to look up the high street. Where it used to stop for about 20, 25 seconds, no longer does. So I was speaking to the police today. I think we're going to try and get some sort of formal representation to the management of top management of West Suffolk to say you need to sort these cameras out, because they're not detecting crime, as we know, particularly like those waste bin that was knocked over a few weeks back, which it required a member of the public to be filming from their bedroom windows for over 3 minutes, and CCTV never saw anything. This is a very expensive system. Those cameras they've just replaced them with are about 1,500 quid each, and they don't seem to have done any risk analysis or anything, as far as I can tell. So I personally would like more benches, but I'm sure Tony Brown is probably going to say something, as I saw his hand up.
Yeah, thanks, John. Definitely more benches. With the high street is going to change. I was listening on the radio today that 50% more goods were bought online this year, obviously because of the partly because of the lockdown, but a whole lot more people have learned how to shop online, and now a lot of those people won't be coming back to buy goods, but they will come out to get something to eat, to congregate, to socialize. So we should help that as much as we can by having more places for them to sit, etc., especially during COVID restrictions, etc. It makes it the town a lot more safer, vibrant. There's people out there that they're more willing to go down to get something to eat, a coffee, and sit outside with friends. If people are abusing the benches, it's up to us as councillors to highlight that and to put formal complaints into the police to try and get it stopped. We shouldn't not have benches just because a small minority are abusing them. We should think about the majority and make the town a vibrant place, and not just let a small minority steer the direction of what we do in the high street. So we just need to via John, etc., onto the police, and hopefully they can do more patrols and enforce these public space protection orders, because what's the point in having one if they're never enforced? Thanks very much.
Councillor Mason? Joe? No? So try again, Joe, because I think you're muted at the moment. Try now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Lovely. Yes, just in support of what Councillor Brown was saying. I think as a community space, we want people more to just go into shops, do their shopping, and then go home. And I think having spaces where people can sit and talk and meet. I mean, we've got to look beyond this period of COVID and try and create a community space that, as Councillor Brown says, creates a nice, vibrant sense of community. So I'm certainly in support of the benches, and again, agree with Councillor Brown regarding enforcement. If the high street is going to develop, if it's going to modify and change and become more community functional, then we need to, as councillors, be proactive in trying to get those who abuse the benches dealt with appropriately. Thank you.
Councillor Dave Smith.
Yeah, sorry, can you just clarify me? The proposal is to picnic benches along Camps Road, is that right? Along where the market is at the moment.
Yeah, picnic type benches, but also normal benches in the High Street and Queen Street and things like that.
Okay, obviously they're going to have to be quite mobile if they're going to have to be moved out of the way.
Yeah, you can get them on.
Or the Friday might come by the High Street.
No, they're designed, the ones they're looking at are on wheels, but you can actually lock them to the pavement. because the market square is owned by West Suffolk, we don't need to get highways permission to dig it, because they won't allow us to do anything in the highway, and the highway includes their pavement as well. So we can put brackets on the about to say the deck, on the floor, and padlock them down as well. Sorry, Aaron, Councillor Green.
I was just going to say, sorry to John and Colin for keep banging on about this place, but a town called Crediton in Devon, they bought a load of picnic benches at the start of COVID, and just put them out in the town centre, not locked. I haven't been able to find any news reports since of any going missing. They kind of spray paint or engraved each bench with the town's name on it, and they stayed put. So.
I'm sure Colin will. I saw him smiling at the name of Crediton, one of my old hunting grounds in the old days as well, when I was at college in Plymouth. Okay. Well, I'm going to propose we allocate £10,000 as requested for all these benches. There's quite a few of them we're looking at doing. That's on top of any money we have left over from the other 10,000 for repairing existing benches, which hopefully will be paid back by West Suffolk anyway.
For a maximum of £500.
Per bench?
No, that's the.
No. They told me they use that as like a pro forma invoice type thing. That's what Damien mentioned to me. Not £500 overall.
Well, that's what it says.
Yeah, I know, but he told me it was they had to put a figure in the system so it could generate a request and work to be done. So we may need to clarify that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tony Brown.
Yeah, more than happy to second that, but would also put a proviso in. Can we do it as soon as possible, please?
Some of it might be down to highways. I think it might be what Colin was about to say.
Exactly what I was about to say. Unfortunately, on the high street, there will be highways will need to license each and every bench. It has to fit in with the market, with the utilities, any concerns the police have over, because the police had some of the benches removed from the high street because of concerns over ASP. So I think the picnic tables can be provided fairly quickly, but I think because as John said, it's not highways land, but anything on highways, unfortunately, we need to complete applications for each and every bench in the location, and they have to then decide whether or not each location is suitable. It won't be quick.
Councillor Lucarini.
I was just going to say as quick as possible on the picnic benches, really, so we can kind of meet what the Safer Places group wants to do with removing the barriers. We might actually get into Susan Glossop's good books for once.
Yeah, get rid of those barriers along the market square and return them to the town council, of course. To the town council. Okay, has anyone else got any comments? If not, I propose that Councillor Brown seconded. All those in favour, please show. Any? No, agree against. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, item 9. Grant application from Reach for £5,000. I'm going to start off by saying I probably won't take anything in this debate, only because I donated a large amount of money personally, not from council funds, to Reach late last year for a project they wanted to do to manage their. I'm going to call it client base rather than customer base. Councillor Brown, first of all.
Yeah, I know they've asked for 5,000. This year's an extraordinary year. A lot of people have potentially lost their jobs, going to lose their jobs. I don't know if there's any way that we could possibly increase it. We give them £5,000 every year. It's an exceptional year. Is there any room? I know that they have to go through the procedure, but I honestly think that we could make a bigger donation this year towards them.
Can I just say, Tony, I had a meeting with Henry today.
Yeah.
And he was actually saying that their workload actually hasn't increased during COVID.
No, but this is for the whole year.
I know, but he says the busiest time they had was actually in March.
Yeah.
Which is actually, he says it's the winter months. It's the thing. So I'm just mentioning that. But of course, their project, you've got to remember, Tony, and they're not the same one way or the other. You look at all their costs. This is just one part of the big project. So.
No, I totally understand that, but I'm just saying that, you know, the furlough scheme, there's a huge iceberg of people that are potentially going to lose it. Once furlough actually comes to an end, there's an iceberg of people that potentially lose their jobs. And I would just like to say that, show that we actually, I know we give £5,000 every year, but would say that, I don't know if we could go to 10,000, speak to Henry to say, look, we understand that, potentially in the new year, you could really be under pressure, and it'd be nice to have that availability of some extra funds just to help out.
Okay, well, let's listen. I'm not taking part of the budget. Councillor Mason, then Councillor Marks.
Yeah, just really, it's almost like a point of order, actually, Chair. There's nothing that prevents REACH coming back to us again, is there, for a further grant application should they need it, should there be a sudden increase in demand. As far as I'm concerned, we will be happy to support, of course, 5,000, but does that not mean that we couldn't support them if they came back to us at a future time if they needed help?
Colin, I'll pick you first.
Yes, there's no reason why they couldn't put a second application in. The discussion I had with Henry, to be honest, rather echoes what John just described. REACH, such wonderful support because it's held in such high esteem by so many people in town, that he did feel fairly confident. I have to say, yes, they definitely want our 5,000. They factor that in, and that regularity that Tony described is important to them. But yeah, I know I was kind of fishing much the same way, perhaps as Tony was thinking, of whether or not REACH needed more help. But they could certainly apply again, and if it was urgent, then we could convene a meeting very quickly to get that to them.
Can we let them know that? Sorry. Yeah.
Councillor Marks.
Yeah, absolutely in support of what Tony suggested. I'm always sending people to REACH who are in difficulty. A lot of people still don't realise that they're not just a food bank, and that the food bank is actually really the kind of bottom of the tier of the work that they do. And in addition, of course, Citizens Advice are under enormous pressure, and REACH work alongside Citizens Advice. And what I like about REACH is they look after our people in our community. And so I think, Citizens Advice coming under more and more pressure financially, and they're not quite doing the same job as they were before, certainly not in our area. So I can see that REACH are going to be picking up a lot more and probably will need more advisors. Also, they're having to do more outreach work and not necessarily able to face-to-face, which makes everything they do that much longer. So, I absolutely support that we should give them as much as we can, because they support our community. They're not global like Citizens Advice. So I'm very much in support of it, and I would support Tony's application in that.
Okay, anybody else want to talk? Can I have a proposer then, please? Tony, Councillor Brown, seconder, please. Councillor Marks.
Sorry, Chair. Can you repeat what we're voting on, please?
To give £5,000.
Sorry, Chair.
Sorry, £5,000, and if they want to come back, Joe, they can apply. Is that okay? Yeah. Sorry. I have a proposal of Councillor Brown, second of Councillor Marks. All those in favour, please show. Okay, that's carried. Thank you very much indeed. Item 11, new strategy update. Who's going to do that?
Behavioural show, number 10.
Oh, sorry, number 10. Sorry, I've just crossed off 2 items. Sorry, I just rubbing my eye or something in my eye. Sorry, Joe. Where are you? There you are. Councillor Mason.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try and be sweet. I've sent in the report. I hope councillors have had an opportunity to have a read through. Looking back, the year has been a strange year because, of course, we started planning the Haverhill show in November 2019, actually October 2019, and indeed we had booked some things for the Haverhill show before Christmas of that year. So, you know, an awful lot of work had gone in, and it wasn't really until May that it became absolutely obvious that there wasn't going to be a Haverhill show. It's easy looking back in hindsight, but of course there wasn't going to be a Haverhill show. I think we certainly weren't the last to cancel an event, a public event. We certainly weren't the first, but we tried to hold off for as long as possible. And you know, hats off to my committee members who were really keen to want to do it, and they were hoping that maybe later in the year, maybe August or September, we might still be able to have some form of Haverhill show. That became obvious really by the end of May that that wasn't going to be happening, and so we kind of held out that we could do a car boot sale. A car boot sale was held. It was well attended. Everyone had a good day out. I think it was a good community event. We made it COVID safe, or as safe as you can make one of those events, and we received an awful lot of positive feedback for the event that we held. As regards to grant money, the Haverhill show received from the town council, there's a number of fixed costs in operating, things like public liability insurance that we paid, and of course that helped us put on the car boot sale. The monies raised from the car boot sale will get carried forward to the Haverhill Show 2021. There's an underspend of the grant of 200 and £293.43. We're hoping to hold events in April and May, subject to weather, you know, car boot sales, again, helping to raise money for the Haverhill show. But we do have some on costs, which are detailed in the financial report. So at the AGM, I did speak to my committee members, and I said I'd come back to the town council to present how we spent the money. But quite a lot of money was spent on trying to make the event COVID secure, which actually, if we hold the event in April and May next year, there's still every chance that we would still have to use all that same equipment going forward. So we didn't really spend the money as was originally intended as per the grant that we submitted. And so I wanted, for full transparency, the council to be aware of that. But I'm also requesting that the remainder, 290, I've forgotten what it is again, £293.43, whether we could carry that forward because to help us, again, with some on costs that we've got. We've not been able to really secure any funds from holding any events. And so to protect our carry forward and to be able to hold events, that extra little bit of money would certainly come in handy. But I'd like to leave that for the committee to decide whether you're agreeable for that. Any questions?
No, I mean, I wouldn't have personally, I wouldn't have expected that money to be returned anyway, but because you know it's ongoing costs of the shows. I don't know what anyone else thinks. Anyone? I think it's been an exceptional year, Joe. I mean, so Councillor Brown.
Yeah, no, just thanks for everything you do, Joe. I know how hard it is to organise, even the small events that we do. So, what you do, mate, I'll take my hat off to you anyway. And I should think you've been under the hammer and the cosh this year with, with what you've been trying to do. So, hats off and to the committee as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I shall pass on. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Thank you. Anybody else got anything before we move on to the next item? No, thank you, Joe, for that. Appreciate the update.
Sorry, because you just you can just have a quick vote on that.
Yeah, can do. Yeah. Proposer. Oh, Margaret Marks first, just slightly before Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please show.
Thank you.
Sorry, going on to item 11, update the committee on the youth action group strategy report. Is that you, Nick, or somebody else? Or Colin?
Well, Nick, I should think, has probably got better memory of it than I have. If there were 2 meetings, I was only at one.
Apologies, I didn't actually see the agenda until this evening, so I didn't know this was going to be on there. And I haven't, unfortunately, Dan hasn't sent me the minutes from the previous meeting, but we had to have 2 meetings, and there were a number of interesting things that came up on the first one in terms of Castle Manor reporting that, you know, an increase in free school meals and mental health provision and becoming a trauma-informed school. Michelle reported about the summer holiday events that the run with the town council, the online workshops, which were very successful in terms of numbers and retention of young people, and working those forward as a model for us to deliver while we have to still deliver online activities. A number of connections were made. We had the Kangle Riverside weren't really aware of all of the ways in which they could get some help. So Lizzie Cocker's now got going to be in contact with the Riverside. We had the reports from our staff in terms of, you know, Karen and Sandra as well. There was big discussion about the skate park as well in terms of the siting of that, and the district council reported on how they see the future for skate park provision in the town as well. And I'm not sure of the route of that, where that's going next. So I'll bow to Colin on how that is going to be handled in terms of reporting what the borough council's plans are for skate park provision in Haverhill.
I can say that's basically they have a stance. I don't know whether it's actually a officer stance or whether it's an actual adopted policy. That West Suffolk District Council support one skate park in each town, and that's absolutely fine, as they've already got one in Haverhill, and but that shouldn't be dictating particularly what the town council chooses to do. If the if Newmarket or ourselves or Bury or anyone else wanted to have a second one, that would be our own business, I would guess. It's possible that West Suffolk wouldn't see it quite like that. But I guess if we get to the point where we're pushing ahead on quotes, you know, if we've got a working group set up for the skate park, everyone's agreeing on location, and we're pushing ahead on quotes, etc., then I think we would need to have a side conversation with West Suffolk that we wouldn't expect them to start taking away provision whenever a town added a provision, because it's that wouldn't be very fair.
There has been reports from young people about the current state of the skate park. There were some repairs made in the summer, which was a temporary repair, but then the sun disappeared and the rain came and created some quite large potholes. So they are having to go ahead with a more substantial repair to the existing park. But they did outline that they have a 15-year plan for a skate park, and they're in about year 10 of that plan for that skate park. There's a couple of subgroups being set up, one for looking at mental health provision and another trying to find some way for an online hangout as well, which is proving a little bit more difficult to do. And the Haverhill South People's Forum reported about the skate park, the pump track. They've been doing some quite successful coaching sessions up there over the summer as well. So it was good to see that the level of activity is still there, trying to cope with how we're having to deliver services for young people. But the YAG still remains a very effective group to share information, as well as look at opportunities to work with the other young people's services in town.
Any questions on that, on the ag? No. Okay. Quickly moving on then, item 12, which is date the next meeting. Oh, blimey, seems long. Yeah. 12th of January 2021. Oh, I hate it when you talk about the next year. It seems like it's coming quick. Sorry, Councillor Brown.
Yeah, I know it's just never in the agenda any chance to speak about any other business or anything like that. All it was there's been quite a lot of discussion that we've had between councillors around public rights of way around Haverhill, paths and things like that. Is there any way that we could get something like that on the next agenda to talk about, getting those sorted out, so we've got proper public rights of way around the town? I think it comes under leisure. Yeah.
Yeah. No problem, I would have thought.
I'll add, it'll be in the minutes to add to the agenda.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? No. So item 13. Let's close the meeting at 20:51.